I've never met Mr. Eminem. He should be ashamed of himself.
Michael Jackson was known as one of the most loved entertainers in history, but not every celebrity showed him respect. Over the years, some stars mocked him, questioned him, or tried to embarrass him in public, but Michael did not always stay silent. Sometimes, with just a look, a response, or his success, he reminded everyone exactly who they were dealing with. In 2004, Eminem released the hit single Just Lose It, which featured a controversial music video that heavily mocked Michael Jackson's legal troubles, plastic surgeries, and infamous 1984 hair-catching fire incident. Michael not only called him out for it, but he also publicly expressed deep disappointment.
Pretty painful as an artist to another artist. And it's sad because, well, I think what Stevie Wonder said is true. And I just don't want to say too much more than that. I've been an artist most of my life doing what I do, and I've never attacked another fellow artist. Great artists don't do that. You don't have to do that.
And then we have Paul McCartney's story. Paul remembered that he and Michael once had a great friendship. They worked together, made music, filmed videos, and shared good times. But later, things changed when Michael asked him for business advice. Paul told him to think about music publishing, and Michael jokingly said he would buy Paul's songs. At first, Paul thought it was just a funny comment. But later, Michael actually made the move, proving that sometimes his response was not loud words, but smart action.
We made a couple of records together, did a video, and we're very good friends. It actually kind of fell apart a little bit later because he was talking to me and asking my business advice. And one of the things I said to him was, think about getting into music publishing. And then he looked at me kind of, I thought he was joking, he said, I'm going to get yours.
Oh, yeah.
So, I kind of thought, oh, you. But it turned out to be true. And
Michael did not need to shout, attack, or argue when someone underestimated him. His answer came through action. Paul later told that story again, and it showed how Michael could turn a simple conversation into a major power move. Paul had once explained to him that music publishing was one of the strongest parts of the business, because owning songs meant having control beyond just performing them. Michael clearly paid attention. At first, when he joked about buying Paul's catalog, it may have sounded like nothing more than playful talk between two artists. But later, that joke became real when Michael made the move and bought the rights to many of those songs.
You were the guy who said to Michael Jackson, you should get into publishing.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Don't you love the irony?
And he bought all your songs.
Yeah.
And you've said to him, listen, I'll give you fair market value. Let me buy my songs. I want to own them. And he won't do it.
It's a funny thing. We had quite a good little relationship. He rang me up one Christmas Day, I think it was, and I heard this, hello?
He's very weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
I said, hello, is this? I thought, uh-oh, wait a minute, this American fan's got my home phone number.
Right.
This is weird. I said, hello, yes.
Yeah,
no, he's not here.
Yeah.
So, hi, Paul. So, anyway, he came over. I said, what do you want to do? He said, make some hits. I said, well, that sounds good. So we got a little relationship there. It was quite good fun. And it is true, he did ask me. He said, got some advice, Paul?
Yeah.
I took him aside and said, diddle-a-diddle, and think about getting into music publishing. And I thought he was joking. He said, I'm going to get yours. Well, I went, he slapped
Sure
him
you
on
are.
the back. And then I just got rung up and said, he's got yours.
Oh.
And I thought, hey, you know what is weird? I don't mind that because he had all the
business,
cash, someone was selling it, and he bought it. What I don't like is that I've actually written to him a couple of times, wrote a couple of letters saying, Michael, don't you think after even if I was just a writer on the payroll, after 30 years
Right.
of being reasonably successful for this company you now own, don't you think I could have a raise?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, well, that's just business. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've never talked about it. He won't even answer my letters.
Oh, my
so you know
God.
what? If we haven't got that great a relationship.
And when Michael eventually purchased the rights to so many legendary songs, it became a powerful statement without him needing to explain himself. What had once sounded like a light-hearted joke between friends turned into one of the most daring and talked about business moves of his career. For Paul McCartney, the decision may have felt personal, especially because of their history and the music they had once shared together. But for Michael, it showed something much bigger. He was not only a performer with unmatched talent, but also a sharp businessman who understood the value of ownership, legacy, and control. At a time when many people saw him only as an entertainer, Michael proved he could think ahead and move like a mogul. By turning advice into action, he showed that being underestimated only gave him more room to surprise people.
One day they was at a party and they was in a courtyard, and he said he was just talking to them about his money, his finances. It was like, yo, you should really get on your money, and publishing is where it's at. And he was like this. Yeah, he was like, yeah, buy as much publishing as possible. And Mike was like, I should buy yours. And he was like, Mike bought it. But then Paul was like, you know what? This might be a good thing, because at least my friend bought it. So then because he said him and John, they signed some, their deals wasn't great.
Yeah.
And he was like, and that was wild to hear him to say that. Music business is so up, man. But anyway, for him to be like, yeah, we didn't sign really great deals, so, we thought, hey, he's our friend, he bought it, let's go ask him. And they asked him, and he said, Mike was like, no, this is business. And wouldn't give it to him, and he was like, all right, f*** you, man.
Well, I guess from Mike's point of view, I just spent $47 million. Like, I'm trying to get this money back.
$47 million.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man.
And people,
he was a powerful motherfucker, man.
That same quiet confidence carried over when it came to Madonna and the criticism she had about his image. He was not the type to change his entire identity just because another celebrity did not understand his style. Michael knew what made him different, and he protected that. He did not need to respond with a long argument or try to prove himself in public. His answer was simple. He stayed exactly who he was: the sparkling glove, the military-style jackets, the sharp dance moves, the mystery, and the larger-than-life presence all remained part of him. While others may have wanted him to adjust or follow a different image, Michael refused to let anyone control how he presented himself. By staying true to his own vision, he showed that he was not copying the culture around him, he was shaping it.
We've become friends, and we were speaking of working together, and we're not working together right now. I mean, I was going to do a song with him on his new album that's coming out. And we got together, and I can't help it. You can see how I am with the dancers. I sort of have to get my hands in there and go, oh, you should do this, you should wear that, you should cut your hair, you should do, and I gave him a lot of books to read and director's reels, and I wanted, because I think he's very talented, but I felt that he needed to be exposed to more things than he had been exposing himself to, so I tried to have an influence on him. I don't know if he's going to heed any of my advice. After all, he's done pretty well for himself without me.
There was talk, I believe, that you were going to restyle him. You didn't like the way he looked. What did you have in mind for him?
Well, I really wanted him to cut his hair. I mean, just that, I think sometimes it's good to cut your hair and start all over again.
How short?
That was my main thing. I wanted him to get a really short haircut. And I wanted him to get rid of those loafers, and the white socks. I just thought, just try something new.
And another moment connected to Madonna showed how Michael handled creative control when someone tried to push the idea too far. Madonna later explained that Michael wanted to work with her on a song, and at first she was curious because writing music with someone is very personal. She said she needed trust because songwriting means opening up and showing a vulnerable side. When Michael played her an early idea and told her the title, she thought it sounded bold and risky. Madonna started taking it in a more provocative direction, but Michael did not agree with where she was going. He may have liked the mystery of the title, but he did not want the song to become something that crossed his own line. In that moment, Michael made it clear that even with another superstar in the room, his art still had to stay true to him.
I think he's talented, so we got together and he played me a bit of music. It was a very unfinished track, and he said that he wanted to call the song In the Closet. And I said, really?
Well, no, hold it a second before we go on there. What exactly was he referring to there?
Well, wait, that's what I'm getting to. I said, you want to call the song In the Closet? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, do you know what that implies? And he said, yeah, and he sort of giggled a little bit. And I said, well, I like to deal with these kind of ironic innuendo kind of things. So if you want to go that way, I was kind of like shocked that he wanted to call something like that because it's very provocative, the title. And so he said, yeah, so I started writing words and getting ideas and stuff, and I presented them to him, and he didn't like them. And I think that I think all he wanted was a provocative.
And the story became even clearer when Teddy Riley later spoke about what happened behind the scenes. According to him, Michael was seriously thinking about having Madonna on the song, but as the creative direction started to take shape, he began to feel it was not the right fit. Michael was not against working with big names, but he knew exactly what kind of image, sound, and feeling he wanted for his music. That is why the Madonna feature never happened.
You ended up doing Jam, In the Closet. In the Closet was supposed to be a duet with Madonna?
Yes.
Why didn't that happen?
How did it came about?
Well, why was Madonna not on the song? Because at the time, Madonna was like the equivalent of a Michael Jackson on the female side, right?
Yeah.
The biggest female artist in the world.
Exactly. Michael changed his mind. And how he got away with it was he sent me to Madonna's house.
Okay.
When I went to Madonna's house, I mean, it's after the non-disclosure. She showed me the house. She took me on a tour. It's a beautiful house. And he left me. I was like, why'd y'all leave me? They left me and she took me on this tour. And then the last room was her bedroom. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the guys out in the front and for them to come pick me up. And thank God they came in time because I didn't know what was gonna transpire. But I just said, yo, I'm not gonna be who Devontae, and I'm not. I was like, no, I have a fiance at home, and
oh, you think that Madonna was trying to seduce you, basically?
No, I didn't know what was going to transpire, but I was with her by myself.
Okay.
And they left me, so I was a little upset with Michael, and I said, what was the purpose of you having me go over to meet with Madonna? He said, maybe you want to meet with, work with her. And I said, of course I would want to work with her, but I didn't have to meet her at a house.
Michael chose to protect the song instead of forcing a collaboration just because it would make headlines. In the end, it showed that he respected his own vision more than outside pressure. When something crossed his comfort zone, he did not make a scene. He quietly took control.
I didn't have to go.
All right, so that ended up being a solo song.
Huh?
I mean, In the Closet ended up just being Michael.
Yeah.
Naomi Campbell was in the video.
Yeah.
Hell of a video, by the way.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, how he did it, you know, he still made it successful.
Oh, yeah.
But us working on that song, it started at a piano. And because Michael kind of just said, we have to do this the classic way.
And years later, even Madonna looked back at Michael in a very different way. After his death, she admitted that the world had failed him in some ways. She remembered hearing the news while preparing for her own tour, knowing Michael was supposed to perform in that same place soon after. That moment made her think about how people had judged him, mocked him, and slowly turned away while he was trying to rebuild his life and career. When she watched old clips of him performing, she was reminded of how rare and special he really was. The same world that once questioned him was now forced to remember his greatness. Madonna's tribute showed that Michael was not just a superstar. He was a human being who was only fully appreciated by many after he was gone.
When I first heard that Michael had died, I was in London, days away from the opening of my tour. Michael was going to perform in the same venue as me a week later. All I could think about in that moment was I had abandoned him, that we had abandoned him, that we had allowed this magnificent creature that once set the world on fire to somehow slip through the cracks. While he was trying to build a family and rebuild his career, we were all busy passing judgment. Most of us had turned our backs on him. In a desperate attempt to hold on to his memory, I went on the internet to watch old clips of him dancing and singing on TV and on stage. And I thought, my God, he was so unique, so original, so rare. And there will never be anyone like him again. He was also a human being. And alas, we are all human beings. And sometimes we have to lose things before we can truly appreciate them.
Then, Michael showed the same strength whenever interviews crossed the line. He was soft-spoken, but that did not mean he would allow people to twist his story or disrespect him without a response. When questions felt unfair, or when the media tried to paint him in a negative way, Michael made it clear that he was not okay with it. One of the strongest examples came after a documentary made him feel betrayed and misrepresented. He believed the world was shown a version of him that did not match who he really was. Instead of letting that image stand without challenge, Michael spoke out and defended himself. He wanted people to understand that there was a real person behind the headlines, rumors, and edited footage. That moment proved that even with his quiet voice and gentle nature, Michael could answer disrespect directly when he needed to.
You molested this boy.
Totally false. Before I would hurt a child, I would slit my wrists. I would never hurt a child. This is totally false. I was outraged. I could never do something like that.
This is a kid you knew.
Yes.
How would you characterize your relationship with this boy?
I've helped many, many, many children, thousands of children. Cancer kids, leukemia kids. This is one of many.
That British documentary last February, which you didn't like.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
You said in that documentary that many children have slept in your bedroom. You said,
Yes.
and I'm going to quote here, "Why can't you share your bed? The most loving thing to do is to share your bed with someone."
Yes.
As we sit here today, do you still think that it's acceptable to share your bed with children?
Of course. Of course, why not? If you're going to be a pedophile, if you're going to be Jack the Ripper, if you're going to be a murderer, it's not a good idea. That I'm not. That's how we were raised. And I didn't sleep in the bed with the child. Even if I did, it's okay. I slept on the floor.
Michael also spoke about how the attacks against him seemed to grow as his success became bigger. In his eyes, the more history he made, the harder some people tried to turn him into a joke. Instead of focusing on the records he was breaking and the impact he was having on music, the media began building a strange image around him. Stories were spread about his private life, his personality, and even the way he lived, many of which Michael said were completely untrue. His quiet nature, different style, and mysterious image were used against him, turning him into a target. But Michael pushed back by reminding people that the person in the headlines was not the real him. Behind all the rumors, he saw himself as someone much more normal, simple, and human than the world was led to believe.
Do you think that your success has actually made people turn against you?
The bigger the star, the bigger the target. And the more popular I became, the more rumors that were created, none of which were true. I mean, the moment I started breaking the all-time records of the biggest selling albums of all time, they called me weird overnight, strange, wacko. They said I'm a girl, homosexual. He wants to buy the Elephant Man bones. He sleeps in a hyperbaric chamber. None of that stuff is true. All completely made up.
I've seen where
it's
you
all
sleep.
a lie.
I've seen where you sleep,
Exactly.
and it's not a hyperbaric chamber.
I sleep in a bed. I mean, people would be so surprised.
This was the point where many people felt the disrespect toward Michael became impossible to ignore. While the cameras were rolling, the interviewer appeared polite, gentle, and willing to understand Michael's side. But after filming ended, the way the story was presented seemed completely different. Michael had allowed someone into his private world because he believed the documentary would give people a fair look at who he really was. He opened the doors to Neverland, shared personal moments, and even let cameras capture charity visits with children who came there for happiness and comfort. But instead of showing those moments with the same warmth, they were later framed in a way that felt negative and suspicious. To Michael, it must have felt like a deep betrayal. He had trusted someone with his truth, only to feel that his kindness and openness were turned against him.
What you're seeing all took place on the day that Martin Bashir and his crew were filming at Neverland. You actually see him in several of the shots being taken by Jackson's camera crew.
This was supposed to be a documentary to tell the truth, everything. And who would bring somebody to his life and open up all the way and wanted to lie about it? If you want to lie about it, don't even do it. You didn't have to do this documentary. Nobody forced them to do this documentary.
After a full day spent with children from the Make-A-Wish Foundation at Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch, what was Mr. Bashir's comment? We'll quote directly from his appearance on ABC's Primetime Thursday. One of the most disturbing things is the fact that a lot of disadvantaged children go to Neverland. It's a dangerous place for a vulnerable child to be. Now, I'm not saying that I saw any evidence of Michael Jackson being involved sexually with any children. Quite the contrary. But what I am saying is that children who are vulnerable should not be going into the house of a billionaire superstar where they sleep in his bed.
And what made the situation even more shocking was the difference between what was said to Michael privately and what was later said about him publicly. Michael's own cameras captured moments from that day at Neverland, showing the conversations behind the documentary. These moments became important because they showed how the interviewer spoke when he was directly in front of Michael. The tone seemed supportive, respectful, and understanding. But once the final documentary was released, many fans felt the message had completely changed. That contrast made people question whether Michael had been used, misled, and disrespected after opening his world.
The problem is, you see, nobody actually comes here and sees it. But I was here yesterday, and I saw it. And it's
We're not
nothing
names,
short
but
of a spiritually
front heavy.
kind thing.
He does it all the time.
I know, but I've told him. I know.
A lot of people see it, but
they never talk about it, and I've said this to him, and what I've wanted to convey is those two things.
Yeah.
And what we've had the privilege of doing this week is not only talking about the musical genius, but about what we saw yesterday, which was incredible.
And that is what made the whole situation look even more strange. How could the same interviewer sound one way in private and then present a very different tone once the documentary aired? The behind-the-scenes footage made people believe he may not have realized Michael's own cameras were still recording after his crew stopped filming.
But when Michael's talking, but when he's talking about the things that he's passionate about, it's obvious that it's in his eyes. This is what's in his heart.
People usually don't ask these questions.
That's it.
And if they do, they don't make it. They don't make it in the papers. They don't make it on the interviews. It's all the negative stuff.
Stupid rumors.
And they cut questions out, and they just like they make it. That's why he doesn't even do interviews anymore. They twist everything. From the moment I met him, I mean, I remember. How can people be so cruel? Like, I read an article and I was crying, and he goes,
It's disgusting. Well, we ain't doing that here.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories about the King of Pop.